And welcome back to another episode of Dogs on the Couch, where everybody's allowed to have an opinion. It does not matter if you played the game, you were watching. So you're allowed to have an opinion as well. Let's get right into it. We got a lot of, even though I addressed this before, the swirlings have been so crazy, I have to address this again because we got new reports coming out from Mary Kay Cabot that Deshaun Watson is emerging after a 3-day minicamp that's completely voluntary. After a 3-day minicamp, that Deshaun Watson is emerging from that as starting QB. Her sources are telling her that Deshaun Watson is emerging, and of course that report sends everybody just spiraling out of control. Now, mind you, I've already addressed this on a previous video where I've pointed out where Todd Monken went into depth speaking about how he views the quarterbacks and how he views Deshaun Watson in specific, and how he, out of his own mouth, said before that basically he can't judge Deshaun Watson based on his bad tape in Cleveland because he doesn't know what was going on, what were the plays, what were the designs, what were the schemes, what were the coaches asking him to do. He doesn't know any of those things. He said what he does know is that over time he watched Deshaun Watson and he believes that the guy is a phenomenal football player. He's a great football player. Over the years, he says he's seen guys who feel like he's a great football player. He also says that tape like from the Cowboys game when the Browns played the Cowboys with Deshaun Watson had a horrible game. He's on record saying he doesn't think that that is a good representation of who Deshaun Watson is as an NFL quarterback. He's already said this stuff. He's laid it out completely. But here we are, and we have to address it yet again. So last time I used Quincy Carrier, courtesy of Worst Take. I used him as the example. But this time I'm going to use one of the other gentlemen that I had mentioned as the example. This guy goes by the name, he's Zach Jackson, courtesy of UCSS. I want to make sure I'm giving everyone their credit and everything like that. So, really quickly, what I would like to do is let's just listen to a little bit of what Zach Jackson's opinion is and his ideology of, quarterbacks and mainly Deshaun Watson. So let's listen to Zach Jackson. This, mind you, this is supposed to be a guy that just knows so much, has so much insider information about the Browns. The same way Mary Kay Cabot is supposed to be someone that just has all this insider information about the Browns. So let's listen to what Zach Jackson, Mr. Insider himself, has to say about Deshaun Watson.
Every day after playoffs, it goes on and on and on. We're arguing quarterbacks.
Right. May 1st.
Probably the answer is none of the above going forward. And the team has even positioned itself that way.
Yeah.
But there's no upside in playing Deshaun Watson. Everyone knows that. And maybe the head coach doesn't know that, and maybe the head coach will truly believe. He cannot believe that off 3 practices in a couple of weeks.
Right, it's great.
Impression, right? Yeah. And they've positioned it in a way to where, they have Deshaun for 1 year because they have to.
Yeah.
And they have these other guys who are flyers, except for Shador, who showed some promise, but not anything great. So maybe this is all to motivate and get the best version of Shador.
What is he doing? Yo, why aren't you using your bat? Don't you?
My God, we got an ad. Forgive me. It's going to be done. Okay, there we go. We back to
great. So maybe this is all to motivate and get the best version of Shador, which is the best plan. Maybe there is a stark early realization that it has to be Deshaun. And in one practice that was open, I thought Deshaun looked good. But everybody knows the truth and knows the final answer here. And everybody also who's being a little bit realistic about the situation knows that this team is at least 1 year away from being back to respectability. In a year from now, Deshaun Watson's not going to be on the team. His time's up. He sunk the ship. He didn't do it alone. He sunk the ship. So every snap that Deshaun Watson gets in 2026 is a waste of time. And the Browns should do all they can to limit those, if not eliminate them altogether in the weeks to come.
Todd Monken.
Okay, so and he goes on. He has a couple more segments where he's speaking about it. I don't really want to give him that much airtime on here. I just wanted to give the grand scheme of this. You can hear him speaking for himself, and I'm going to paraphrase the rest of what he's saying. Like, basically what he's saying is anybody who got a brain, you should just know Deshaun Watson, there's no reason that you should put Deshaun Watson out there. It's no upside to that. There's nothing good that could happen to that. Now, for people who think logically or objectively, so wait a minute, if Deshaun Watson gets out there and he does good and he wins football games, that's not an upside? Zach Jackson believes, no, that's not an upside, because the only thing you get from that is, well, the guy plays well, now you can't draft Arch Manning or whatever quarterback they want in 27, and you potentially have to repay Deshaun Watson. Why would you want to repay him? He's so terrible. Look at his film. Look at the film when he was here. He's terrible. He's terrible. He's terrible. He's terrible. Well, watch this. And I even said this in previous videos. If I'm using Zach Jackson's logic, the Seattle Seahawks wouldn't have won the Super Bowl this past year, because all they would have done was look at Sam Darnold's tape with the Jets and look at his interview where he said he was seeing ghosts, and they would have been like, yeah, there's no way we're giving this guy an opportunity. Look at his tape with the Jets. He's terrible. And not only that, on his tape, does it look like he's seeing ghosts? He actually came out of his own mouth and said he's seeing ghosts out there. So by Zach Jackson's logic, the Seattle Seahawks should have never given Sam Darnold an opportunity. Neither should the Minnesota Vikings. They should have never given Sam Darnold an opportunity. Look at what his tape was with the Jets. Look at how bad he was. So why should he get another opportunity? He was terrible. He couldn't make reads. He said he was seeing ghosts. So why would we bring a quarterback like that in and give him a chance? That's if I'm using Zach Jackson's logic. Luckily for the Minnesota Vikings, Kevin O'Connell, as well as Mike McDonald over there with the Seattle Seahawks, they did not use Zach Jackson's logic. And they did give Sam Darnold another opportunity in their system, under their tutelage, to see what he could potentially do. And what do you know? When they did that with Sam Darnold, the Minnesota Vikings had a winning season. And then after that, when Minnesota didn't keep him, and Sam Darnold went to Seattle, they gave him a chance over there, and he did so well with it, he led them to a Super Bowl. And then after that, what do you know? The Minnesota Vikings GM gets fired because you didn't keep Sam Darnold, because you wanted J.J. McCarthy, the new hotness. J.J. McCarthy's supposed to be that guy. J.J. McCarthy, we don't want no Sam Darnold. That was just a one-off. He ain't good. Then he went over there to Seattle and showed like, well, yeah, maybe I can be some good. If I got the right pieces around me and I got a coach who can draw up a good scheme for me, I can be some good. Not only could he be some good, he is officially a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Sam Darnold, the guy that was seeing ghosts. Go look at his tape with the Jets. Go look at that. Go look at his tape with the Jets and tell me if that's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. It's not. If you only count his tape with the Jets, then no, he's not a Super Bowl winning quarterback. But luckily for the Minnesota Vikings, and extremely, extremely luckily for the Seattle Seahawks, they didn't go based off of the Jets tape. They looked at it like, well, we don't know what they was doing over there. We don't know what they was asking him to do. All we know is what we would ask him to do. So that's kind of what we're gonna go with. So for people like Zach Jackson, his thing is, and he goes on to say this later, like specifically, his thing is, even if Deshaun goes out there and plays well, it still isn't an upside for the Browns. It's not an upside. So let me get this straight. You're supposed to be for the Browns. You're a Browns reporter. You should be pro-Browns. That's what you would think. But someone who should be pro-Browns is literally telling you, if you win, that's not good. What? What? He's telling you if you win, it's not good because you're winning with him. So it's not good. What? If you're a real Browns fan and you've been losing forever, you shouldn't care who you win with as long as you're winning. Do you see that? This was a part of the thing with Stefanski. it was like people were so attached to Stefanski and his individual accomplishments, coach of the year, two-time coach of the year, that they would rather lose with him as the coach than have the potential to win with someone else. Nope, we'd rather just lose with Stefanski. Because, again, if I'm using Zach Jackson's logic, which is, well, look at this tape of Deshaun Watson with the Browns. He ain't no good. What did he have? A couple good games out of all these games? Okay, well, watch this. Let's use that same logic with Kevin Stefanski. Look at his tape with the Browns. He was here for 6 years. How many seasons did he have good seasons? 2. He had 2 good seasons in 6 years with the Browns. And in his final 2 years were arguably some of the worst years in Cleveland Browns history. And those 2 years in specific had very little to do with Deshaun Watson. In fact, for one entire year and a half, Deshaun Watson wasn't even available to play at quarterback. So he wasn't to blame. You couldn't blame him for why you were so trash. Because that 1 year you was able to, well, it's him. But then once he was removed and you had 52 other quarterbacks to trot out there, including Dylan Gabriel, who you handpicked, and Joe Flacco, who was intentionally brought back in so that you could recreate the 2023 Joe Flacco magic. And when you tried to do that, Joe Flacco looked just as bad as Deshaun Watson. Then you put Dylan Gabriel out there. He looked trash. But what do you know? When Flacco got away from here and went with the Cincinnati Bengals, he looked good again. So if I'm using Zach Jackson's logic, Stefanski, you only had 2 good years out of 6. So, Zach Jackson, based on your logic, why did we not want Kevin Stefanski fired? Why you didn't want Kevin Stefanski fired? He's had 2 good years out of 6. Why should he continue to keep his job? Make that make sense to me. How? How is it okay for him to keep his job? Oh, because you're saying, well, the only reason he was trash was because Deshaun Watson sucked. Well, that's not true, because when Deshaun Watson wasn't out there playing quarterback, he still sucked. Kevin still sucked. He still couldn't win games. Even without Deshaun Watson playing quarterback, he still couldn't win games. You said, oh, well, that's because the players, he doesn't have the correct players to work with. Okay, so you can say that. You can say the coach doesn't have the correct players to work with. But it's completely asinine to maybe suggest that maybe the player, Deshaun Watson, maybe he didn't have the right coach to be. Oh, that's blasphemous. We can't say that. We can't, because Kevin is so great. Kevin's such a great coach. Well, if Kevin's so great, how come he only had 2 good years out of 6? He had 4 losing seasons to 2 winning seasons. How is that great? If Deshaun Watson, only has a couple winning games compared to, because if I'm not mistaken, his record as the starter for the Browns, I think, is 7-9. I think. He has a better record starting quarterback for the Browns than Kevin Stefanski got as his head coach for the Browns tenure. Deshaun Watson has a better winning percentage as the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, as trash as he's been. He has a better winning percentage as the starting quarterback for the Browns than Kevin Stefanski got as the head coach for the Browns. And that includes the years that he had Baker Mayfield and all the other years that he didn't have Deshaun Watson. So you can't say that Deshaun's the only reason that Kevin got a bad record. Nope, that record includes all of the quarterbacks that he didn't have and tried it through here. And Deshaun Watson has a better winning percentage as the starter than Kevin Stefanski had as the head coach when he departed. So I'm not understanding the logic, Zach Jackson. It only seems to work when you're talking about Deshaun Watson. And like I said before, I'd much rather y'all just say, I hate Deshaun Watson. Just say that. Just like we rather people say, just say you hate Shedeur Sanders. Like we used to do with Kevin Stefanski. Don't get to doing all this extra talking. We'd rather just say, you say that's not your guy. We'd just rather you say that. Just say that that's not your guy, and Dylan Gabriel is. That's why you can't say Shedeur's name, and then when you talk about Dylan Gabriel, you talk about him so good you call him a supercomputer. Just say that. But instead, y'all want to cover our eyes like we can't see what we really seeing, which is Zach Jackson. There's no logic to what you're saying. Your logic is just do anything that isn't Deshaun Watson. Even if Deshaun does go out there and win games, that's still not a good thing. What? Like, this is what I mean when we talking about, it's like, are you really a Browns like, are you really a Browns fan? Maybe you should be reporting for a different team. Because this is what Shedeur Sanders was speaking of when he was saying he needed more positivity from the media. How hard is it to say, well, if Deshaun Watson plays well, which was so crazy, Zach Jackson said the one day that he was out there and he did look, Deshaun Watson looked good. Out of his own mouth, he said, well, the one day I was out there and I saw it, he was looking good. Well, if he looks good and he plays well and he wins games, how on earth is that bad? How is there no upside to that? Because my thing is this, even if by some wild chance, he does play well and you win these games, and let's just say you make the playoffs and you lose the first round. Let's just say you don't even make the playoffs, but you have a winning season. Let's just say that happens. In my mind, this is what you get. This is the upside from that. Number one, you had a winning season. So quite naturally, the fan base and everybody and the players, they're going to feel good about the team. Because we were able to put something together that helped us this year that we ain't been able to do these past seasons with Kevin Stefanski. So for number one, that's the upside. The fan base and everybody else is going to feel more positive about the team because now, at least this year, we can consider ourselves a winning football team. So that's an immediate upside, number one for me. Then number two, even though I don't think you have Deshaun under contract the following year. I'm not sure. But let's just say, for the sake of saying, he's not under contract the following year. So he plays well, but you don't even have the opportunity to trade him. Okay, cool. What I would look at as the upside for Deshaun playing the whole season and playing pretty decently and enough for us to have a winning season, well, what I would say with that is, the upside is, well, Shedeur had a chance to sit, because ain't that's what y'all wanted Shedeur to do from day one, to sit and learn, because he's a 5th round draft pick? Well, in my mind, Shedeur would have had the chance to sit and learn and actually be learning, watching some winning football. So there are things that I could be able to learn and take away from this, because this isn't crappy football that's being played out there. This is winning football. And then we already saw clips of Deshaun when Shedeur was starting last year. Deshaun was over there with him on the iPad, getting with him, trying to show him some little stuff here and there. To me, that would be an upside. Now Deshaun can depart. If you don't want to re-sign him, now Deshaun can depart. He can go wherever he wants to go and do whatever he want to do. Now enter Shedeur. And Shedeur, now you don't have any more excuses, because clearly we got the weapons to have a winning football team. We just saw it happen with Deshaun Watson. So now you done had a year to sit, get some tutelage, be able to watch, learn, look at the whiteboard and all that other stuff they said you were supposed to do. And now you can come out here and now we can legit find out, Shedeur, whether you have it or whether you don't. Because we know for a fact that the team is set up to be able to be a winning team as long as you get some decent quarterback play. Because we saw it from Deshaun Watson. So now we can push Shedeur out there and 100% be able to decide whether you're good or whether you're not good. Because we know that you got the supporting cast to make it happen, because we saw it already. So now, Shedeur, if you go out there and you stink it up, boom, we know that you're a 5th round pick and you can't be a franchise quarterback. And now we get to look to the future. And then if you trash and you stanking it up, guess what? Bam, we're going to get a good draft pick, which means we can use that to get a quarterback. And one thing we learned about Andrew Berry with these past 2 drafts, these past 2 years, if Andrew Berry want to make something happen in that draft, it seems like he finds ways to maneuver around and make it happen. So if it's some quarterback that you eyeing in the future, and then you're like, all right, Shedeur ain't it, but we eyeing this other quarterback, it seems to me that Andrew Berry would try to find a way to move pieces and parts and make calls and make trades and stuff like that to get you in position to be able to get a good enough quarterback, a quarterback that would be deemed better than Shedeur and could get you back on winning track. All of that seems like an upside to me. All of it. All of that seems like an upside to me. It seems like, well, we can only go up from here. That's what it seems like to me. And in worst case scenario, let's say that Deshaun go out there and he trash. Okay, well, guess what? Guess what that means? Guess what that means? Enter Shedeur Sanders. And now, Shedeur, you can prove now whether you're going to be the guy or whether you're not going to be the guy. And we can be able to decide, all right, well, either we moving on or we're going to give Shedeur a shot at this thing. Because Deshaun Watson lost the first 5 games, but then Shedeur came in and he won, he won 5 out of his next 7 games. Okay, well, cool then. You know what? Let's rock with Shedeur. We found that out. We figured it out. Seems like an upside to me. That's what it seems like to me. And then not only that, last but not least on this particular point, before I move to Todd Monken addressing majority of these issues in the interview that he just did today. And I'm glad he did another interview and he's spewing the same stuff he was saying before to let you know he's a straight shooter. He's not saying one thing somewhere and then saying something different. So last but not least on this particular part, if Todd Monken deemed Deshaun Watson the starter for day 1, what that would tell me is Deshaun Watson outplayed his counterparts to earn that job. So that would mean that whatever Monken was watching behind the scenes, he felt like Deshaun was the one to give the team the best chance to win. Well, respectfully, if you are a player in the locker room and you're not just Zach Jackson, if I'm a player in the locker room and I've been watching these two, and out of these two, we all know and we agree because we've been watching it that Deshaun Watson is going to give us the best chance to win this year. Now, maybe in other years, he might not have given us the best chance to win. But this year, he looks healthy, he looks mobile, he looks like he can throw, and we got an offensive mind that's finna try to draw up some stuff to help him. And it looks like he's been catching on, and it looks like been working out. So you know what? Hey, we believe in Deshaun Watson. Zach Jackson, Mr. You probably never been in a football locker room before with the helmet and the pads on playing yourself. How do you go look the players in the face and say, we're not going to start the guy that's better just because we feel like there's no upside to it? What? Do you think the players are going to go for that? Do you think the players are going to be like, so wait a minute. So we're going to try out a quarterback that we feel like gives us a lessens our chance to win just because you feel like starting the other guy doesn't have an upside for the future. I can't worry about the future. I'm trying to win football games this season. Like, that's what the players in the locker room is thinking. I'm trying to play meaningful football games and win football games this season. I'm not worried about what y'all do in 2027. I might not even be here in 2027. So why am I worried about the upside for the future? I'm worried about the upside for this upcoming season. That's all I'm worried about. I'm not worried about the upside for 3 years from now when y'all got the dome and you playing in the dome. I might not even be in the dome. So why would I be worried about that? I'm worried about what quarterback gives us the best chance to win this upcoming season. That's all I'm worried about. And if us as the players, we watching it, we seeing it, and Deshaun is doing better, legit, not just somebody making it up. It's like, no, you legit seeing it, and Deshaun, we didn't think he could, but you know what? He actually is doing better. Well, the players are going to want the best quarterback to be out there. You can't go to the players and be like, well, look here, we know that Deshaun has shown to be better, but we're going to start the guy that's not as good just because we don't like Deshaun. We don't see an upside for him, and we just trying to hurry up and get him out the building. What player is going to buy into that? Because that would raise my eyebrows as a player. I would look at it like, so wait a minute. That means you could do that to me. That would mean that I could outperform a counterpart. I could do better than him, but you potentially won't play me just because you don't like me. You don't feel like there's an upside in 2 years for playing me this year. What? It is absolutely ridiculous. It makes no sense. Yeah, forgive me. I'm gonna have to cook in this video. It might be a little bit long one. Forgive me. So, really quickly, now let's move into Todd Monken and listen to some of his interview. That he had to do. Actually, we're gonna listen to nice little pieces of it, and I'm gonna react. As it goes. You know what I'm saying? As the interview goes, because he addresses quite a few things. I don't want to do the entire interview, but we're going to do a nice little piece of it, if you will. So let me be quiet and let Todd Monken cook real quick.
For coaching. It just is. You look dumb as a coach when you put bad football on the field. You want it to look like you want it to look like. If we ran power 62 plays in the game, They might be pissed off that we ran power 62 times. But if it looks like that's our identity and we're going to be a physical team and it looks like you want it to look like, you can live with it. But when you go out there and if you're jumping off sides, you have 10 on the field, you got 12 on the field, the quarterback has anxiety at the line of scrimmage, guys are going the wrong way. That's an indictment on coaching. And that's an indictment on us. So that's the starting point.
So, really quickly, the context is they asked him the same question that in the other interview that I brought up on here. Basically, asked him the same question. Basically, what would be the difference, that we would see with you as the head coach as opposed to, things in the past? What would be the quote unquote Todd Monken stamp on the team? What could we expect to be different? And I do want to say this before I throw my piece in there. Todd Monken prefaced his statements by saying what I said all along. You got the coaches clique. You'll never say anything bad about another coach. That's just the way that it goes. You as a coach, you would never say anything bad about another coach. It's a coaching circle. It's coaches trust. That's just the way that it goes. So before Monken said everything that he said, he went on to talk about how he felt like Kevin Stefanski is a fantastic football coach, because even when they asked Monken the question, they was like, hey, look, man, this has nothing to do with you saying anything about previous coaches. We just want to know about what would be the Todd Monken stamp on the team, So let's get that clear. No shade to Stefanski with this. No shade from Monken to Stefanski with this. However, I'm going to be the one to throw the shade. Monken don't have to do it. I'm about to throw the shade. If you just listen to what Monken said, if you got guys jumping off sides, you got, illegal formations, you got, 11 on the, 10 on the field, you got 12 on the field, you know what I mean? Like, your quarterback gets to the line of scrimmage and he's got anxiety when he steps up there. What's so funny about that? When you think about all of that, it's pretty much like he's describing, if you think about it, that describes the Kevin Stefanski coached football team that we've been watching the past 6 years. Top of the league in penalties, every kind of penalty you could think of. Somehow our quarterbacks getting up there and just being trash. Some of them looking like they got anxiety, looking like they don't know what they're looking at or what's going on. You got Dylan Gabriel, the supercomputer. For everybody who wants to talk about Deshaun Watson and the fact that he can't process, he couldn't get simple concepts. That's not Stefanski. I had Dylan Gabriel, who is a supercomputer, intentionally ground the ball from his own end zone and then point over there as if it was somebody there that he threw the ball to, like if it was somebody over there that was an eligible receiver. And we all know that there's nobody over there. Not only that, if you intentionally ground the ball from your own end zone, well, that's a safety. How did the supercomputer not know that? How was the supercomputer's reading processes not able to process, well, I understand that I'm in trouble right now, but I'm processing, well, let me get rid of the ball to avoid taking a sack. Well, you getting rid of the ball to nobody is the exact same thing as if you took the sack. It's the same thing. Where was your processing ability for that? I'm just wondering. Since we want to talk about what Deshaun Watson can't read a simple mesh concept. Okay, well, Dylan Gabriel, the supercomputer, he couldn't process the fact that I can't intentionally ground the ball from my own end zone to avoid a safety. Because if I do, it's still going to be a safety. I don't get it. I'm not understanding that. I don't get it. You want to know the common denominator between the two? Both of those guys were in Kevin Stefanski's offense. It's the common denominator between the two of those. Both of those guys were in Kevin Stefanski's offense. Mind you, Dylan Gabriel was supposed to be the supercomputer in Kevin Stefanski's offense. So if it should have been anybody that was able to fully comprehend Kevin Stefanski's offense and be able to execute it and operate it to the maximum optimum level that Kevin wanted, well, should have been able to be Dylan Gabriel. And if it wasn't him, then it should have been able to be Joe Flacco, right? The same way that he did it in 2023. And how did that work out? It was so bad that Kevin Stefanski decided to bench Joe Flacco. So I don't, when you break it down, it really doesn't it doesn't make any sense. When you really try to add it all up, it doesn't make sense, because the same stuff you say about Deshaun Watson, you can say the same thing about others as well. It's just their hatred for Deshaun Watson blinds them from saying it about other individuals and or holding them to the same standard that you do the Deshaun Watson. So now let's get into a bigger piece of this, because it was mighty ironic that all of the stuff that Monken was describing, that he just despises crappy football. Like, that's the one thing that he keeps saying, that that would be his stamp on the team. It's well, look, I just don't like crappy football, and I feel like if it's crappy football out there, that's a reflection of me as a coach, and now I look stupid. Kevin would never say anything like that. Monken is literally coming out and saying, if we look crappy out there, that it's me. It's on me. It's not on the quarterback. It's not on, we don't have enough talent. It's not on any of that. It's on me. It's a difference between going out there and then you compete and you lose, then you go out there and you look like you just don't know what you're doing. You offside. You're steady jumping off sides. Too many men on the field. Not enough men on the field. Intentionally grounding the ball from your own end zone. Like, just all this wild stuff that looks like you don't even know what you're doing. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying he's going to bring. And ironically, when you're describing that, as I think about it, it reminds me so much of Kevin Stefanski's coached football teams. That's what it reminds me of. So I'm going to throw the shade. Stefanski, what Monken just described, he just described you. That's what he just described. And he said he don't want to be you. And I love the fact that he don't want to be you. So now let's get into we have to, address some other things that, Monken talked about, and they trying to, ease their way into the quarterback thing and what Mary Kay Cabot said and whoop, whoop, whoop. And Todd Monken is finna just blow up the report right here, right now. So let's start listening to some of this in an extensive light, and then I'll give my reaction as Monken goes.
And that's give yourself a chance. More games are lost than they're won, and that's the starting point for us as a team.
Todd Monken joining us in studio right now.
And,
so
and,
I want to...
And really quickly, by the way, all of this is courtesy of 92.3 The Fan. I want to make sure I'm giving them their credit. All of this, the interviews and stuff, is courtesy of 92.3 The Fan. The Zach Jackson stuff was courtesy of UCSS. This is courtesy of 92.3 The Fan.
Clarifying, I think you've said this before. You do want to have a starting quarterback on your team that you know is on your depth chart, number one, before training camp, correct?
Would love to.
Okay, you would love to. You're not necessarily stuck in cement on that idea then.
Well, I would love to have that. I'm not there yet, so I can't say that. We've been on the field 3 practices, which was awesome. And to get out there with our players. I was talking to Carson yesterday. He said, feels so weird that we got from phase 1 to get on the field, and then now we're back off for 3 weeks. But it's always changing based on what you see. I don't have a history with any of our players. I know where this is heading. I mean,
let me stop and react real quick. First of all, he letting you know, I know where this is heading. And then he let you know, I don't have a history with any of the players. So when he's saying he don't have a history with any of the players, it's the same thing I said in the last video that I addressed with this Deshaun Watson crap. What he's saying is, the history of the tape that y'all want me to watch on Deshaun Watson. Okay, well, Kevin Stefanski has that history with Deshaun Watson. I don't know what was going on between them. So whatever was going on with them, that has nothing to do with me. Every time I get my hands on any of these players or anything, it's all fresh and it's all brand new to me. So I'm not finna take something from somebody else as a definitive answer when I haven't had my chance to assess it yet. Let me let Monken keep talking.
But I don't have a history with any of the players. They're all external to me. Just like when I interviewed coaches for the coordinator position, there was no internal candidates. I wasn't here. They're all external to me. So all the players are external other than Tylan Wallace, who was with us. So at the point is, what I've seen after 3 days, okay, that gives us a little bit of a 40,000 foot view of where we're at. But that can change Once we get back on the field for 4 weeks at the end of this spring, we'll have a better idea then. But there's only so many reps you get. You've got to start to target towards who's going to start opening day. And now that can still change. That can change even if someone's getting 2/3 of the rep to someone getting 1/3 of the reps, because you're still going to play preseason games. You're still going to want to see those guys at quarterback and see how they play.
Why is it important for the rest of the?
Let me react to that. So again, what he's saying is, he's like, yeah, I mean, did I get a 40,000-foot bird's eye view of, what I'm getting out of my different guys at quarterback from this little minicamp? Yeah, I mean, you get this extremely drawn back idea of what you could have, but to say that I could come up with something just based off that, no. There's a much more that has to take place, like the actual practices, the actual real training camp, when everybody is actually really here. He said, and even then it could still change, because there's preseason games that we have to play. So you could look great in practice, but then when I put you out there in the preseason game and it's time to put it together on the field, you might not be putting it together on the field in live action the same way that you was putting it together in practice. So what Monken is saying is, I have to be able to see all of this stuff and process the information before I can definitively stamp, all right, this about to be my starting quarterback right here. Todd Monken is basically telling you, I need to do my due diligence. I could easily go off of what somebody else told me about this player. But why should I do that when I can evaluate the player up close and personal myself, and then gather my own opinion and perception of the player and what he may do good and what he may not do so good, and if I can work with him or if I can't work with him? Let me let Monken keep cooking some more.
Team to figure out who that guy is before training camp actually starts.
I think you're talking about our players.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important for them to have an idea of the identity of the team and have a belief in whoever that is. Ultimately, the ball's in that player's hands every down. So, and you're going to come down to 4-minute, 2-minute, end of game scenarios. You have close games every week, a belief system that this guy's going to take us to the promised land, which is starting with a winning team, winning the division, right? Winning a Super Bowl, all of those things. I don't think players care. I just think they want to know who's going to give us the best chance to win. Who do we believe in that's going to give us the best chance to win? Because through all the money and all of that, there's nothing like the feeling in the locker room when you win. And I think that's what players still crave, to be a part of winning and to be able to wear your Browns gear with pride. Hey, I'm a Cleveland Brown.
Before a big.
So again, really quickly, let's react to that. I touched on this earlier before Monken even just said it right here. The players in the locker room don't think like you, Zach Jackson. They're not worried about, the dome in 27 or what quarterback could be picked in the draft 2 years from now. They're not worried about that. What the players in the locker room are worried about, which quarterback gives us the best chance to win right now. And if the head coach was to dare put a quarterback out there that definitively everybody knows he's not the one that gives us the best chance to win, then I'm sorry, the players are going to lose respect for the coach, because they're going to feel like he has an ulterior motive and he doesn't have what's best in mind for the team. He's thinking about something completely different. He's thinking about having what's best in mind for the dome in 2029 or wherever, 2027. He's thinking about that. That's what the players are going to say. The players, like he just said, the players ain't going to care. The players don't care about all of the narratives and all that other stuff that y'all care about. The players don't care about that. What they care about is right here, right now, for this upcoming season, which quarterback is the one that gives us the best chance to win. All right, that's the guy we want to get behind. Doesn't matter who it is. It could be Dylan Gabriel. If he's deemed as the best quarterback, the one that gives us the best chance to win after Monken has done his assessment and all of the other players have seen it in practice and whatnot, and I'm pretty sure that Monken going to be seeing the same thing that the players are seeing. So I'm pretty sure they're going to come together with a common denominator. Yeah, you know what? This is the best guy. So no matter who the best guy is, that's the guy that the players are going to want out there, regardless as to what you think, Zach Jackson or anybody else. The players are going to want who's the best quarterback, not, well, we don't want him out there because there's no upside next year to having him out there. The player's not thinking about next year. They're thinking about this year. They're not allowed to think about next year. Next year ain't here yet. It's this year. I got to worry about what I'm doing on the field this year. I can't worry about next year. What if I'm worried about getting a big payday next year, but this year I play like trash? Well, how am I going to get the big payday next year? I can't because I played like trash this year because I was too worried about next year and my big payday. Zach Jackson, let's let Todd Monken cook a little bit more.
Trial, a judge will instruct a jury. You got to be impartial. You got to delete anything you might have heard about this case. Get it out of your mind. Can you possibly do that and be that objective when it comes to two quarterbacks, both very, very famous dudes? Everything that Deshaun Watson has been through and the stuff he's put on tape 6 years ago and the stuff he's put on tape with the Cleveland Browns over the last how many years? And then Shedeur and everything that comes along with Shedeur Sanders. Can you possibly be that objective?
Well, I think there's levels of being objective. I mean, I'm not Patrick from SpongeBob. I don't live under a rock. I mean, I sit there and I hear things, I see things. You're part of that. But I've learned over the years in coaching is your job is to let it play itself out. I said that many of times, like, I'm going to let all of the students take the test.
Let me stop him real fast. Let me react to that. He said it without saying, I'm going to let all of the students take the test. He's telling you, what good does it do for me to just not even let one of the people take the test? Just because somebody else told me you were dumb. So I'm just like, oh, well, I was told you was dumb, so I'm not even going to let you take the test. He's saying, well, no, in order to prove that you actually are dumb, I'm going to let you take the test the same way everybody else taking the test. And if you are as dumb as they say you are, then you're going to fail the test. And then now I can see firsthand that you're dumb. What's wrong with that? That's the way that it should be. Like, what's wrong with that? He's saying, like I said before, everybody has a level playing field. Everybody's starting from ground zero. Because I don't have no prior relationship with y'all. Everything is new. That's what he just said earlier. So everybody's starting from ground zero. Everybody's going to start with a level playing field. And then now I got to let everything play itself out. And I have to make sure the way that I know it plays out fairly is I got to have a level playing field. I can't automatically be looking at this guy thinking that he trash just because of what somebody else said. Just because Zach Jackson said that he trash. Well, now I don't want to give Deshaun Watson a fair chance in the quarterback competition. Well, what if he does good in the quarterback competition? Why would you? I know you don't want to be objective about it, but what if he does? What if he does do good? Why would you want to take that chip off of the table? How does it hurt you to just let him take the test? If he fails it, he fails it. Boom, easy peasy. He failed the test. But I'm going to at least give you a chance to take it. Because his thing is, well, I wasn't here for that. I wasn't here for that stuff before. I don't know. I didn't have no parts of that other stuff and whatever was going on there. So I don't know. I'm finna give him my test. And then once he take that, I'm gonna decide whether he dumb or not. Oh wait, I'm gonna have to go back some more. Let me see.
Be impartial. You got to delete anything you might.
Okay.
Man, I'm not Patrick from SpongeBob. It's like, I'm going to let
all right, there we go.
all of the students take the test. You know, I'm not going to walk in the classroom and before they even take a test, I'm going to observe the students and give them a grade based on what? How they look, how they dress, like nationality, male, female. My job is to let it play out. And sometimes players have they have a fresh start is maybe the best way to put it, or a different style or a different system. So it's my job to do that. And
I can't. He cooking so much, I couldn't even let him finish. Did you hear what he said? Why would I walk in the classroom and judge one of my students? Why? Because of maybe how he talks? The way he dresses? His nationality? Why would I do that? That's not my job. So again, oh, well, maybe Shador's style isn't what you liked. Well, Monken saying, well, I'm not finna come in and judge him because he got his hat on backwards or because he has a watch on. I'm here about football. So that other stuff, I don't care nothing about that. Oh, well, he listens to rap music. Okay, who cares? So what? As long as it don't affect him playing football, he can listen to all of the NBA young boy that he want to listen to. As long as when you get out here on the football field, you do what I'm asking you to do. I don't care what you listen to. I don't care the clothes that you wear. I don't care if you have a watch on. I don't care if you have a signature touchdown celebration. I don't care. That's not my job to judge you off of that. That's precisely what Monken is saying. And then he used the word fresh start. So Monken is telling you, I'm going to get, I know you don't want me to, but I'm going to give Deshaun Watson a fresh start. And then he says, you know, sometimes it's a different scheme. You know, you're asked to do different stuff. That's why he said, I'm going to give Deshaun Watson a fresh start. Put him in my stuff, put him in my scheme. Now, I know what I'm asking him to do. And if you're saying that he can't read defense, is cool. I'm going to draw the plays up where he only got one read. So now it ain't complicated. You don't have to get up here and do all this extra stuff. The play that I drew up, hey, throw the ball right here. And if you're not open, run. Now, if you mess that up and you fail that test, guess what? You can't be my starting quarterback. But if somehow I can draw up that and then you good at that and it works and we win games, cool, I can live with it. That's the same thing to talk about earlier, how we was talking about if we run power 62 times a game. Yeah, it's probably going to be some people that don't want us to do that, but if we develop an identity doing that and it works, I mean, why not just keep doing it then? Because it's working, we winning, and that's ultimately the ultimate goal. Now, yes, there's intricacies to it, but ultimately the goal is to win. And if we do it and we win, fine. What's the problem? I don't get what the problem is. There's no problem. Man, let me try to let Monken keep cooking here, man. He cooking. He cooking.
To me, it's the only way. Now, you can be so, again, I would just say there's levels of being objective, right? There's levels where you're like, okay, I believe this player has something more in there, or there's others where I'm just going to be stubborn and say, no, this isn't it. This isn't the direction we're going. And I think that's unfair to every player. I don't care. I know we're talking about quarterbacks, but I'm talking just in general with the players is it's our job to put the best players on the field to give us a chance to win. And how are we going to do that? By being objective.
Well, Ken,
Thank you. He said, how are we going to do that? By being objective. Because my job is to put the best players on the field. So I can't do that if I just automatically rule out one of the players because we just don't like him. Or because of what he did in somebody else's offense or whatever. I don't want to rule that out. I have to be objective about it. That's my job because my job is to put the best football players on the field. So the only way that I'm going to know that I'm putting the best out there is I got to see them all in action to be able to make my own judgment, my own assessments. Let me let Monken keep cooking because it's about to get rich. He about to say some real good stuff right here coming up.
To me earlier today and said the internet isn't real. And so I come in today, Brown's international headlines like Shiloh Sanders, sexist comment draws backlash, tells Browns reporter to go make a sandwich. How can you make sure to disassociate any of that stuff with a very serious competition that you are having? Because, everybody has a platform now, and everybody's weighing in on every decision. We had it happen with the prior coach. How can you make sure that that stuff doesn't bleed into what you guys are doing?
Well, we were talking about on the ride up here. First off,
I love this answer.
I think it's awesome. I mean, it's why we get paid so much. I mean, we get paid so much because fans care and you talk about it. If it wasn't talked about, I sure as hell wouldn't get paid what I get paid. So that's part of what we do. But if that's going to bother me or it's going to bother Shador or Deshaun, they have no chance of being either the head coach here or the quarterback at the Cleveland Browns. I mean, for God's sakes, it's the world we live in. I think someone told me years ago that if the president has a 55% approval rating, he's killing it. Well, I don't know. I'll shoot for 60 approval rating or a quarterback. Like, that's part of what we do. It's part of the scrutiny that comes with it. And Fine. That comes with the territory of what we do. And ultimately, what we do on the field is what matters most. And I said it, and there's more to it than just saying, but it really is. You want to stop the narrative? Play well. You want to stop a narrative? Win. It's really that simple. Now, there's more that goes into that, because I got scrutinized by just saying, oh, winning. Well, I know there's more to it. I get that. But ultimately, that's what it is. It's any narrative.
But you don't have to talk to anybody about that stuff, making sure that stuff doesn't enter into a psyche, or, hey, I kind of don't want family members saying this type of stuff because, we've got our football team to worry about. Do you have to address the team at all about that kind of stuff?
No. That's...
Okay, I can react while the ad is playing. He quickly said no. Now look, one of the reasons that I love his answer, his response to this, is because this is the Cleveland media at its finest. If y'all remember, Jason Lloyd was the one who was pounding the table saying no head coach would take this job because they don't want to deal with the circus of Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson. No coach is going to want to deal with that. And I was right here on this channel back then when he said that. I was on this channel saying, well, listen here. If a head coach is so worried about all of this media outside of him, ooh, people said this and people said that. Okay, well, I don't want him as the head coach of my football team then. He's not a leader of men. If he's just so worried about what these other people said about me, look at what the tabloids said. If that's the attitude that the coach got, I don't want him being the head coach of my football team. I don't. If that bothers you, I don't want that to be the head coach of my football team. And as the quarterback, if the stuff they're saying about you bothers you, I don't want you being my starting quarterback. I don't want it. I don't want it. You're too soft. You're too fragile. You're too frail. And I'm sorry, in football, there's no room for that, man. And Monken just keeps it real about real life. He like, man, that's the world that we live in. People are gonna do that. I can't control that. I don't have no control over that. So what is I'm worried about that for? A part of the reason I get paid so much is because people do stuff like that. And if I let it bother me, I wouldn't be getting paid the way I'm getting paid right now. I'm not worried about what they say. I'm worried about what's going to happen on this football field. It's the only thing I'm worried about. Because if I go out here and it's good on the football field, them narratives going to have to change after that. And if you want to keep spinning the same narrative, cool, but you're going to look stupid. Because that's not what's going on the football field. If I go out here and I start winning, all that other stuff that you're talking about, it ain't going to make a difference. And if you want, you can keep talking about it, but you're going to look stupid because people are going to be like, well, wait a minute, you saying all this stuff, but they winning. So we don't understand what the problem is. They winning and you still got a problem? Why do you still got a problem and they're winning? That's what he said. Finally, we got a head coach because Kevin seemed to care so much about that kind of stuff. And so did Jason Lloyd. Oh, white coach is going to want this job with all that stuff that comes with Shedeur and all of the swirling and the tabloids, every day. When we got a head coach right here that said, yeah, I don't care nothing about that. Then the other boy, then Anthony Lima going to try to, well, I mean, you don't feel like you have to talk to anybody about that to tell them to say, he said, no. No. What is he about to go talk to them? What are you going to go, oh, yeah, tell your brother, don't say anything about Mary Kay Cap. First of all, his brother is a grown man. That grown man is going to do what he wants to do. I'm sorry. That grown man is going to do what he wants to do. The same way that Baker Mayfield's wife said what she wanted to say. The same way that Dylan Gabriel's girlfriend came out of her mouth sideways and got to talking. Y'all didn't, it wasn't no issues then. Well, no problem. But it's a problem because it's Shedeur Sanders' brother saying something, about y'all beloved Mary Kay Cabot. Is that what it is? Monken say he don't care nothing about that and he don't need to be talking about nobody and addressing that. He can't control that. Social media is the world we live in. And if you let social media affect you like that in 2026, you darn sure ain't got the cojones to be no head football coach or no starting quarterback in the NFL. Let me let Todd Monken finish off what he's saying here right quick and drop the bomb.
Man making a comment on social media. That's someone reporting something they believe. That's their opinion. Fine, not my opinion. I didn't say that. Our daily inner workings with the quarterbacks and the players is going to mean more than what is said outside of there. Ultimately, do I believe that our players look at social media? Of course. Do I? Yes. I mean, do most of us? Yes. That's the world we live in. But ultimately, with the players, like, I think that has changed over the last few years of how do you get your players to deal with things that are being said about them, good or bad? How do you manage that? I think that is a real challenge. But ultimately, like I said, if that's going to be what defines you, then you're going to struggle to be either the head coach, be an offensive coordinator, or be our quarterback.
Tom Monken joining us.
Now, Monken done cooked more than enough. We don't even have to go any further, because that last piece right there was when he addressed Mary Kay Cabot's comments. He said, fine, that's your opinion. I didn't say that. It didn't come from me. That's your opinion. I didn't say that. You know what I'm saying? And he's basically saying, I'm not bothered by it either. This is what's going to happen. You're going to have people that got their opinions and try to throw them out there and whoop, whoop, whoop. But he not Kevin Stefanski. He not finna be all secretive. He a straight shooter. He just flat out told you, well, I didn't say that. So Mary Kay, if she want to report that her sources said that Deshaun Watson has the inside track to QB1, cool, let her report that. But Todd Monken said, ultimately, what's going to determine who the real QB1 is the work that we putting in with the quarterbacks and the practices and going through our process the way we need to go through it. That's what's ultimately going to determine who the starting quarterback is, not somebody's reports or their opinions. Because that's just what they are. They're that person's opinions. And he made sure that you knew it, because he said out of his mouth, I didn't say that. Yeah, I didn't say that. So he basically like, I don't know where they're getting that from, but I mean, I didn't say that. So until you hear it from me, then it doesn't really matter. They can say whatever they want to say. Like, you didn't hear it from me. So I don't know if you just want to just be bought into that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't say it. In fact, I keep telling you what I'm saying, which is, I have to be able to work with these quarterbacks individually myself. Put them in my system, have them run my stuff. I know I'm setting them up in advantageous positions. Now let me give you the test. And if you fail the test, boom, you can't be my starter. Whoever passes the test, you have the potential to be the starter. And then from there, it's, well, how did you pass the test? Did you have an 80% or did you have a 95%? And what people like Zach Jackson want you to believe is, even if Deshaun Watson scores a 95 on the test and Shedeur scores an 80, still go with Shedeur, just because Deshaun doesn't give you an upside for the future. And Todd Monken telling you that's not what my job is as the head coach. My job is to put the best football players out on the football field. That's what my job is. And that's what I'm going to do. Dogs on the couch, signing off.